Hey everyone. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like button, drop a comment on what you think will happen next, and subscribe for more insane HFY stories. Now, buckle up because what you're about to see will completely change how you think about humans in the galaxy. The chamber stretched wider than any human city Kale Ryden had ever seen, a monument to alien arrogance and interstellar bureaucracy. Towers of translucent crystal spiraled upward, catching the starlight streaming from the massive observation domes, casting fractured rainbows across the polished floor. The Galactic Council was in session, and Kale could feel 100 alien eyes on him, each a different shade, shape, and size, filled with barely disguised contempt. Kale stepped forward, his posture unassuming, yet there was a quiet confidence in the way he held himself. His uniform, the muted gray of Earth's interstellar envoy, looked threadbare compared to the flowing robes and iridescent exosuits of the council members, but that didn't matter. He knew their mockery was as predictable as gravity. Ah, the human, a towering amphibian with glistening emerald skin croaked, its multiple eyes narrowing. Here to witness greatness or to become entertainment? Kale allowed himself a subtle smirk, but kept his tone measured. I am here to observe as assigned. He didn't lower himself to argument. Humans rarely needed to explain themselves. Their methods were alien enough to be misjudged, and sometimes, misjudgment worked to their advantage. The council's chamber erupted in whispers. Metallic clicks, guttural gurgles, and high-pitched chirps filled the air as delegates debated among themselves. All eyes turned toward the center of the room where the arena floated, an invisible platform materializing with a shimmer. Within it, the deadliest predator in the known galaxy, the Xylarian beast, paced like a nightmare-given form. Its body was a mass of sleek muscle and chitin, jagged spines glinting along its back. 3 sets of eyes glowed with an eerie, calculated intelligence, and its claws scraped the platform, sending sparks into the air. Observe carefully, humans, a silver-feathered Avern counselor called, her voice like wind over ice. This creature could annihilate your kind without breaking a sweat. Her words dripped with derision, though Kale's ears were attuned more to the rhythm of challenge than insult. Kale's pulse remained steady. He had trained for moments like this, though not on a council stage. On a frontier colony scarred by constant storms and feral wildlife, he had learned to read predators. The Xylarian beast was no exception. The way it shifted its weight, the subtle tension in its multiple limbs, the flicker of its secondary eyes, all told a story of instinct and expectation. Most species responded to fear with aggression. Kale had never been one of the most species. The arena shimmered again, and the beast let out a roar that vibrated through the floor and up into the council's seats. Some of the smaller delegates squealed in alarm, while larger ones merely shifted uneasily, their confidence waning. The sound should have terrified him, but instead, it ignited a familiar thrill. This was a puzzle, a test, and Kale had spent his life solving puzzles no one else could. A holographic display activated beside him, showing the beast's vitals and projected threat level. Every indicator flashed red. Every logical observer would have assumed the human would step back, freeze, or panic. And yet, Kale took a single step forward, closing the distance to the edge of the arena. What is he doing? Hissed a reptilian delegate, its tongue flicking nervously. He's walking straight toward it. Kale's hand extended slowly, deliberately, and for a heartbeat, the council believed he was making a grave mistake. The Xylarian beast paused, its multiple eyes narrowing. It sniffed the air, sensing the human approaching without fear, a reaction it had never encountered. Time seemed to stretch. The chamber, the council, even the stars outside the dome, all held their breath. Kale knelt slightly, maintaining eye contact without threatening gestures. The creature's growl subsided into a low, curious rumble, the vibration rolling like distant thunder. You see, humans do not only survive by strength, Kale said softly, more to himself than anyone else. They survive by understanding. The council erupted in murmurs. Some tried to rationalize, some recoiled in disbelief. A few younger delegates, those more open to novelty, leaned forward in fascination. Kale's fingers brushed the beast's forelimb, and the creature twitched but did not strike. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, it allowed him to run a hand along the jagged ridges of its spine. Whispers turned into outright gasps. The beast's 3 eyes blinked in unison, a rare sign of trust or recognition. For Kale, it was simply another moment in a lifetime of observing and adapting. For the council, it was nothing short of impossible. Impossible, muttered the Avern counselor, her feathers ruffling with indignation. A human, petting, the Xylarian? Kale rose to his full height, keeping the creature calm with subtle movements, his demeanor a mix of patience, confidence, and quiet command. The council's security drones hovered uncertainly, their programming unsure how to react to the unanticipated display. For the first time, the chamber felt a twinge of vulnerability among the supposedly dominant species. Lieutenant Roran Vey, Kale's right hand, stood at the chamber's perimeter, silent but vigilant. Unlike the council, he had witnessed Kale's feats countless times. Roran's expression was a mix of pride and the faintest hint of amusement. He knew the shockwave Kale was about to send through the galaxy would be monumental. Kale's hand lingered on the beast's forelimb for a moment longer, enough to establish dominance without aggression, before withdrawing deliberately. The creature let out a low rumble of acknowledgement, then shifted back, pacing as if considering its new perspective on the human. The council's delegates leaned back in their seats, a mixture of awe, fear, and disbelief painting their faces. They had gathered to witness a demonstration of ultimate power, yet what they saw defied every law of logic and expectation. A human, fragile by their standards, had approached the galaxy's deadliest predator, and had done the impossible. Kale's eyes scanned the chamber, locking briefly with the Avran counselor's gaze. "I am not here to impress," he said softly, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall. "I am here to show understanding. And understanding can survive where raw power cannot." A tense silence followed, the kind that makes the walls themselves feel uncertain. The Xylarian beast's rumble echoed through the chamber like a heartbeat, steady and measured, a reminder of the raw potential Kale had just mastered. He took a step back, allowing the creature to reclaim its space, yet keeping it tethered in mutual respect. Some delegates sank back, unsure whether to applaud, flee, or call for security. The moment was over, yet it lingered in the air like the afterimage of a supernova. The council had witnessed what none of them believed possible, and they would not forget it. Kale straightened, his posture calm, his expression unreadable. He had not sought victory here. He had merely shown the truth of human capability. Yet in doing so, he had set the stage for the council's next challenge. A challenge that would test not just strength but strategy, trust, and the very limits of what it meant to be human in a galaxy that had always underestimated them. The Xylarian beast, once a symbol of fear, now regarded him with something akin to recognition. And somewhere deep in the council chamber, where whispers of doubt and astonishment intertwined, a single truth became undeniable: humans were not to be dismissed. And as Kale's eyes met Roran Vay's, they both knew this was only the beginning. The chamber had not yet recovered from the shock of Kale Ryden's audacious encounter. Whispers ricocheted across alien tongues, some questioning reality, others calculating potential repercussions. Kale, however, was already moving beyond their disbelief, his attention fixed on the Xylarian beast. Its 3 eyes tracked him warily, muscles coiled with restrained energy, a creature born to kill yet hesitating in his presence. Roran Vay stepped closer, his boots clicking softly against the polished floor. Unlike Kale, he had never needed to earn trust from apex predators. His skill was measured in strategy, calculation, and timing. He had accompanied Kale through countless life-or-death encounters, from the storm-ravaged colonies of Earth's outer systems to the hunting grounds of hostile alien fauna. "Careful," Roran murmured, voice low, almost lost beneath the chamber's murmurs. "It's curious, not tamed yet. One wrong move." "I know," Kale replied, his tone calm but resolute. "Curiosity can be more dangerous than rage but also more manageable. Watch and learn." He moved slowly, measuring each step. He crouched, fingertips brushing the cool, ridged surface of the beast's forelimb again, just enough to establish presence without aggression. The creature twitched, claws scraping the platform, but it did not strike. Its multiple eyes, so unrelenting in their scrutiny, softened in subtle synchronization. Kale's voice was almost a whisper, resonant with patience and authority. "We are not enemies. You have no reason to attack. But I understand why you would." The council leaned forward in unison, their combined incredulity tangible. Some began to murmur warnings into communication devices, while others scribbled frantically in multidimensional tablets, recording every anomaly. Every alien species that had ever underestimated humans was reconsidering assumptions in real time. "You see," Kale said to no one in particular, "humans survive in the most unforgiving environments by reading danger rather than confronting it head-on. We do not dominate, we adapt." A flash of movement caught his peripheral vision. Roran had positioned himself at the perimeter, scanning for threats while remaining an unobtrusive shadow. In the chaos of the council's judgment, Roran's eyes reflected calculation rather than awe. He trusted Kale implicitly, aware that his partner's mastery over life-or-death interactions was not instinct alone. It was a combination of experience, observation, and unflinching composure. Kale withdrew his hand momentarily, gauging the beast's response. The Xylarian beast's stance shifted subtly. It exhaled through gills along its jawline, a sound that reverberated like distant thunder. Its massive tail flicked once, then twice, signaling cautious acknowledgement. He had expected suspicion, not submission, and he adjusted accordingly. Humans had learned long ago that trust had to be earned in increments, and predators measured patience by motion and tone. Commander Ryden, one of the younger delegates, finally dared to speak, its voice trembling with a mixture of excitement and fear. How do you maintain control without weapons? Without restraints?" Kale's expression remained unreadable, though a faint edge of amusement touched the corner of his lips. "Control is a misnomer. There is no control over a creature designed to survive by instinct alone. There is understanding. Recognizing patterns, respecting limits, and knowing when to act. Those are the tools." He let the words linger, each syllable deliberate. The council's drones hovered closer, sensors beeping nervously as if unsure how to respond. Several members exchanged alarmed glances, their centuries of hierarchical dominance challenged by a human's audacity. To Kale, this was merely the beginning. Understanding preceded action. Once the council realized humans could act without relying solely on brute strength, they would see that caution was their only viable option. Roran adjusted the interface of the holographic platform, overlaying movement vectors and predator analysis. Your approach works because it's predictable in its unpredictability, he said quietly. You're calm where they expect panic, precise where they anticipate error. That's why it's working. Kale nodded subtly. Every species has instincts. The trick is to read them like a language. The Xylarian beast is aware of my presence, evaluating each motion. It knows I am not a threat, but it's testing the boundaries. That's where humans excel. We exploit logic in creatures that rely on instinct. The alien counselors were beginning to understand, some reluctantly, the sheer audacity of what they were witnessing. What was meant to be a demonstration of human inadequacy had become an exhibition of a species' adaptability, a species they had long underestimated. Murmurs rose to questions edged with disbelief, and disbelief teetered dangerously close to fear. Kale moved closer, crouching to eye level with the beast. He extended a hand, not as a threat but as an invitation. The creature's gaze flickered from Kale's face to the hand, then back again. Its rumble deepened, vibrating through the chamber like a drumbeat of anticipation. One of its massive claws hovered over the platform, indecision reflected in every fiber of muscle. Observe, Kale instructed softly, his voice carrying an authority that was neither loud nor aggressive but unshakable. It will test me as much as I test it. Not with teeth or claws but with instinct and patience. We are equal in awareness, not in strength. The council's attention was riveted, their combined consciousness struggling to reconcile centuries of preconceived hierarchy with the impossible scene unfolding before them. The human was not fleeing, not panicking, not flailing. He was interacting, reading, adapting, predicting, and the deadliest predator in the galaxy hesitated. Minutes passed in a tense, silent exchange. The beast sniffed, pawed, and shifted, testing boundaries without aggression. Kale's hand remained steady, a tactile promise rather than a command. Slowly, the creature leaned in, its massive head lowering until the human's hand rested against its snout. A ripple of murmurs swept the chamber. You see, humans do not need to dominate, Kale said, voice carrying over the council's astonishment. We survive because we can think, because we can observe, because we can act when others hesitate. Instinct may drive the beast, but logic guides humanity. Roran's eyes flicked briefly to Kale, a subtle nod passing between them. The bond of trust, forged over countless trials in the unforgiving reaches of space, was mirrored now in the silent acknowledgement of the Xylarian beast. What the council had expected to be a demonstration of danger had become an exposition of human resilience, adaptability, and foresight. Finally, Kale withdrew his hand, stepping back with measured calm. The beast shifted as well, remaining wary yet non-threatening, its massive frame pulsing with restrained power. The chamber was filled with a heavy silence, the kind that follows a revelation too profound to dismiss. Unbelievable, whispered one of the elder delegates. A human, and the Xylarian, together? Kale's gaze swept the chamber, noting the mixture of awe, skepticism, and alarm. He had made his point, but he knew this display was merely the prologue. The council would not forget this, and soon, they would seek to challenge the very limits of what humans could accomplish. He would meet that challenge as he always had, with precision, patience, and unyielding resolve. Roran stepped beside him, voice low and steady. They're stunned, but they'll recover. They'll want proof next. Kale allowed a faint smirk. Let them watch. Proof is more than display, it's action, and we're just getting started. The Xylarian beast let out a low, reverberating growl, one of acknowledgement rather than threat. Kale mirrored its calm, letting the rhythm of trust resonate between them. The council could watch, speculate, and doubt, but one truth had been etched into their consciousness. Humans were not to be underestimated. And as Kale and Roran prepared for what was next, the chamber still held its collective breath, awaiting the impossible to unfold once more. The chamber's hum of whispered speculation had barely settled when the lead Averan counselor, her feathers bristling with indignation, leaned forward. Her voice sliced through the air like icicles. This human, this Raiden, has shown audacity, yes, but we require proof. Words and gestures are insufficient. Let him demonstrate his so-called understanding under conditions that are not contrived. Kale's expression remained calm, neutral, yet a faint spark of anticipation flickered in his eyes. He had expected this moment. The council could not tolerate an anomaly without testing it further. It was in their nature to challenge what they could not dominate. Roran Vey, ever alert, shifted slightly, scanning for any hidden agendas or traps that might accompany such a formal declaration. A holographic projection flickered to life above the chamber floor, outlining the simulation arena. A vast, multi-tiered expanse filled with treacherous terrain, simulated storms, and projections of multiple apex predators designed to test any entrant to the limit. The council's intent was clear. This was no ordinary demonstration. It was a gauntlet, a crucible to see if a human could survive, and perhaps, command forces they had no right to influence. You will enter, the counselor continued, and you will navigate the arena. You will face predators in conditions that simulate the most extreme habitats of the known galaxy. If you succeed, perhaps your species may be reconsidered. Her words were laced with condescension, but also a grudging acknowledgement of risk. Kale exchanged a brief glance with Roran. Extreme conditions and apex predators, he said softly. Sounds familiar. Roran's lips curved into the faintest smirk. We've trained for worse. The Council has underestimated humans before. Not this time. The chamber doors opened with a hiss, revealing a transport platform that descended into the simulation arena. Kale's boots clicked against the floor as he approached, the Xylarian beast shadowing him silently. The Council observed every step, their curiosity tinged with anxiety. Humans had survived harsh worlds, yes, but commanding a creature of this magnitude in a controlled yet lethal environment? It was unprecedented. Kale entered the arena first, scanning the environment with sharp, methodical precision. Every ridge of the terrain, every simulated obstacle, every predator projection was noted, catalogued, and assessed in the quiet rhythm of his mind. The beast padded behind him, muscles tensed but restrained, responsive to the slightest of Kale's gestures. The first predators emerged, sleek, multi-limbed hunters, their bioluminescent markings glowing faintly in the arena's simulated dusk. The Council had expected panic, perhaps even chaos, but Kale's composure remained unshaken. He signaled subtly to the beast, guiding its attention without need for words, communicating in a language of movement and intention. Notice the coordination, Roran whispered almost to himself. Kale isn't dominating. He's negotiating. Every action is deliberate, every step calculated. It's not fear he instills, it's respect. The predators circled, sensing opportunity, testing the bond between human and Xylarian. Kale crouched slightly, letting the beast's instincts align with his guidance. A sudden leap from one of the hunters could have ended any ordinary human, but Kale anticipated its trajectory, adjusting the beast's stance just in time. Its claws met those of the predator mid-air, a controlled clash, redirecting aggression rather than escalating it. The Council's murmurs rose again, an anxious chorus that blended awe and disbelief. What they expected, a spectacle of human vulnerability, had become a masterclass in strategy and adaptability. The arena's conditions intensified. A simulated storm erupted, torrential rain and electrical surges testing footing, vision, and coordination. The predators adapted, exploiting the chaos, yet Kale remained centered. He guided the beast along safer paths, exploiting terrain advantages, anticipating ambushes before they manifested. Each movement was a testament to human ingenuity, the ability to think beyond instinct to manipulate variables others could not perceive. One particularly aggressive predator lunged from above, its claws aimed to strike. Kale's hand flicked in a near-imperceptible signal. The Xylarian beast twisted mid-motion, intercepting the attack with precise force, sending the predator skidding harmlessly across the simulated rock. The Council's reaction was audible now, gasps, clicks, and the occasional hiss of disbelief. Kale's voice was calm, carrying over the storm. Every creature has a pattern. Every predator has instinct. Understand it, anticipate it, and you survive. Domination is optional. Intelligence is essential. Roran adjusted his own position, monitoring variables, anticipating Council interventions. He noted subtle attempts to manipulate the simulation in real time, but Kale remained ahead, reading every shift, every fluctuation. The beast mirrored his focus, muscles coiled yet restrained, every movement perfectly synchronized with Kale's silent commands. The simulation escalated. Multiple predators coordinated attacks, attempting to isolate Kale and the beast. Sparks from simulated electrical discharges leapt dangerously close, and unstable terrain threatened missteps. Yet each time Kale's strategic foresight redirected both danger and opportunity. The arena itself became a chessboard, predators the pieces, and Kale the player who understood rules beyond brute strength. A sudden collapse of terrain forced the Xylarian beast to leap, carrying Kale across a widening chasm. For a fraction of a heartbeat, the Council expected failure, human and beast plummeting into simulated oblivion, but Kale adjusted midair, landing with precision, the beast's claws gripping securely. Roran's eyes widened, admiration evident despite his composed demeanor. Humans thrived on risk, yes, but they measured it with logic that even apex predators could not anticipate. Minutes stretched, predators regrouped, and new challenges emerged from the arena's shifting terrain. Kale continued to guide the Xylarian beast, exploiting instinct and logic, predicting predator behavior with a near-prescient accuracy. The Council's collective disbelief had turned into tense respect. They had intended to witness human inadequacy. Instead, they were witnessing mastery. Finally, the last predator disengaged, retreating to simulated cover. The storm abated, the arena settling into eerie calm. Kale stood, allowing the Xylarian beast to pace beside him, muscles still coiled but no longer tense. The Council's silence was deafening, a sound heavier than applause, heavier than argument. It was acknowledgement of something none of them had anticipated. Humans, underestimated and dismissed, had survived, and commanded, what should have been insurmountable. Roran approached, voice low, carrying a mix of relief and pride. You've done it? Not by strength alone but by thinking ahead, anticipating, and understanding. They'll never see it coming next. Kale's gaze swept the arena, taking in the terrain, the predators, and the faint glimmers of council observation posts still recording. They think they've seen the full extent of human capability, he said, tone calm but edged with certainty. They've seen only the beginning. Intelligence, patience, and trust, those are the weapons they cannot measure. The Xylarian beast let out a low rumble of acknowledgement, the sound reverberating through the arena like a heartbeat. For Kale, it was a signal of success and of alliance. For the council, it was a declaration of human potential they could neither deny nor fully comprehend. The chamber beyond the arena remained tense, eyes wide and sensors recording every nuance. The Avern counselor, her feathers flattened in silent shock, exchanged looks with her peers. They had issued a formal challenge expecting spectacle and failure. Instead, they had witnessed strategy, coordination, and the unshakable calm of a species they had long underestimated. Kale and Roran prepared to exit the arena, but the tension did not ease. The council's deliberations would come later, but one truth had already been cemented. Humans were a force to be reckoned with, capable of survival, adaptation, and influence in ways no other species had anticipated. As Kale stepped forward, the Xylarian beast at his side, he knew this demonstration would not end the council's curiosity, or their scheming. Challenges would follow, tests designed to push limits, and the galaxy itself would soon take notice. Yet in this moment, the bond between human and apex predator had been established, and a quiet confidence settled over him. Roran glanced at Kale, a hint of a grin breaking his otherwise stoic expression. Next time they'll need more than skepticism. They'll need strategy just to keep up. Kale nodded, hand resting briefly on the Xylarian beast's ridge. Then let them try. We'll be ready. And as they left the arena, the council could only watch, still grappling with the impossible reality that a single human and his partner, the galaxy's deadliest predator, had survived the ultimate trial. The arena had transformed since Kale Ryden and Roran Vey first entered. The simulation's lights dimmed to an eerie, shadow-drenched twilight, and the hum of hidden generators vibrated through the floor. The council's projections had multiplied, unleashing a coordinated onslaught of apex predators from every biome known in the galaxy. Each creature was a masterpiece of lethality, designed to overwhelm any competitor through sheer aggression and instinct. Kale crouched slightly, scanning the shifting silhouettes. The Xylarian beast, enormous and coiled with restrained energy, mirrored his movements with uncanny precision. Its claws scraped lightly against the ground, tail flicking, eyes tracking every incoming threat. Kale's heartbeat remained steady. He had faced danger before, but the intensity of this arena required more than instinct. It required human ingenuity applied at the edge of possibility. They've coordinated, Roran said, voice tight but calm. Not just individual attacks, they're working as a unit. Kale's eyes narrowed, analyzing patterns. Coordination is predictable. Instinct-driven creatures will mirror each other in pursuit of advantage. Watch their spacing, anticipate timing, exploit hesitation. Let's move. A predator lunged from above, sleek limbs tipped with crystalline claws that could slice through metal. Kale signaled subtly, and the Xylarian beast twisted mid-motion, intercepting the predator with precision. The impact was a controlled redirection, not destruction, sending the creature skidding harmlessly across the uneven terrain. Sparks erupted as its claws struck jagged rock. The council's delegates, observing via distant monitors, emitted audible gasps, some scribbling frantic notes, others recoiling in disbelief. Kale leapt over a fallen pillar, landing lightly and motioning the beast to his side. They'll test coordination again, he said. Expect synchronized attacks. Look for the subtle signs. Tail flicks, eye focus, body tension. Predict, then respond. The predators circled, converging from multiple directions. The arena storm simulation intensified, rain lashing sideways, electric arcs dancing across the metallic floor. Visibility dropped, footing became treacherous, and instinct alone would fail. Yet Kale's mind worked like a machine, cataloging, anticipating, adjusting. The Xylarian beast, responding to slight shifts in Kale's stance, mirrored his strategy flawlessly. One massive creature with armor-like plates covering its limbs barreled toward them. Kale darted to the side, allowing the beast to pivot, redirecting momentum into a controlled maneuver that sent the predator tumbling into another adversary. The council's murmurs swelled into astonished chatter. Humans had survived extreme environments, yes, but commanding apex predators in real time against multiple lethal opponents? This defied centuries of expectation. Watch the flanks, Roran warned, gesturing to two predators closing from the left. Kale shifted his weight subtly, signaling the Xylarian to mirror the adjustment. One predator struck, claws meeting claws, teeth scraping chitin, yet no lethal damage was done. Every interaction was measured, each predator's momentum redirected to neutralize threat rather than escalate it. Kale's voice, calm but commanding, echoed over the simulated storm. Patience and timing. Their aggression is predictable. Don't dominate, redirect. Anticipate every move before it happens. Lightning arced across the sky simulation, striking a spire and sending debris tumbling. The predators exploited the chaos, attempting to isolate Kale and the beast. One lunged from above, massive wings beating, claws extended. Kale pivoted mid-step, signaling the beast to leap. Its powerful legs propelled them across a widening chasm. Time slowed, the council expected disaster. Instead, Kale landed lightly, the beast's claws gripping securely, both perfectly synchronized. They adapt quickly, Roran noted, scanning predator patterns. But so do we. Kale's eyes glimmered with focus. Intelligence scales faster than instinct. Every move they make reveals a pattern. Follow it, exploit it, survive. Another predator emerged from below, jaws snapping, limbs thrashing. Kale crouched, guiding the Xylarian to redirect its momentum. The beast collided with the attacker, sending it spiraling into the arena wall. Debris scattered, sparks erupted, yet the beast remained composed, alert, poised to respond to the next threat. The storm reached its peak intensity. The ground shifted, simulated mud and debris threatened footing, predators attacked in tandem, and the Xylarian's agility was tested to its limits. Kale's movements were fluid, calculated, almost poetic. He anticipated each strike, adjusted angles, timed his steps and gestures with precision. The council, monitoring the unfolding scene, could only watch as a single human orchestrated survival through strategy and synergy. A pack of predators coordinated an ambush, attempting to flank Kale and the Xylarian. Kale signaled with a flick of his wrist. The beast moved in perfect unison, intercepting attacks, redirecting opponents and maintaining Kale's safety. Sparks flew, claws scraped rock, and the storm's electric energy arced dangerously close. Each predator's momentum was harnessed and deflected rather than destroyed. Roran's voice cut through the storm, steady and tactical. They're fast, coordinated, and brutal, but their patterns are clear. Lead them, don't follow. Kale's eyes followed each predator's movement, his mind calculating vectors and trajectories in real time. He shifted subtly, a glance and a gesture enough to guide the beast. They navigated collapsing terrain, avoided lethal strikes, and remained a single cohesive unit. The predators attacked relentlessly, yet Kale's calm precision allowed them to survive. Every movement was a lesson in observation, anticipation, and human ingenuity applied under extreme conditions. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Exhaustion, for humans or beasts, would have broken lesser partnerships. Yet Kale and the Xylarian beast moved with synchronized clarity, their trust and understanding evident in every calculated step. Finally, the last predator disengaged, retreating to simulated cover. The storm abated, leaving a silence that was almost reverent. Kale straightened, his posture unwavering, and the Xylarian beast lowered its massive head in acknowledgement. The council's chamber was silent, the hum of generators and distant storm the only background. The impossible had been accomplished. A single human and the galaxy's deadliest predator had survived the ultimate test. Roran stepped forward, his voice low but filled with restrained pride. You did it. Not by force but by understanding, anticipation, and synergy. They'll never underestimate us again. Kale's hand rested on the Xylarian beast's ridged spine, feeling the subtle tremor of its restrained power. They'll remember this, he said quietly. Not because of aggression but because humans think differently. That is the edge no predator, or council, can predict. The council's monitors displayed every moment in high-fidelity detail. Gasps, clicks, and whispered disbelief echoed through the chambers. The Avern councilors' feathers were flattened in shock. Other delegates murmured anxiously. They had sent the apex predators to crush, to humiliate, to prove human inadequacy. Instead, they had witnessed mastery, humans surviving by intelligence, patience, and an unshakable calm under extreme conditions. Kale turned to Roran, eyes glinting with determination. We've proven capability, yes. But the galaxy won't stop testing us. Every species underestimated us until now, and they'll try again. We need to be ready. Roran nodded, a faint grin breaking his stoic demeanor. They'll try to challenge you with everything they've got next. Strategy will become their weapon as well. Kale looked at the Xylarian beast, massive eyes reflecting the dim arena lights. Then we'll meet it with more than strength. We'll meet it with intelligence, with trust, with foresight. And we'll survive. The beast let out a low rumble, almost like a laugh, and moved beside him, ready, alert, an apex predator tempered not by fear but by mutual understanding. The council could watch, could speculate, could fear, but one fact had been cemented beyond doubt. Humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and resilient. The impossible had become reality. And as Kale and Roran prepared to leave the arena, the storm subsiding behind them, every eye in the council chamber knew that the galaxy had witnessed the rise of a force that could not be contained or ignored. The council chamber remained suspended in stunned silence. Even the hum of the floating platforms and the distant echoes of the simulation storm could not mask the awe that had settled over the delegates. Kale Ryden stood at the edge of the arena, the Xylarian beast looming behind him, its massive head lowered in quiet acknowledgement. Every eye in the chamber was fixed upon them, a mixture of disbelief, respect, and an unspoken question. What was the true extent of human capability? Roran Vey stepped beside Kale, his posture relaxed but alert, eyes scanning the chamber. They won't stop staring for a while, he murmured, a faint grin tugging at his lips. Some of them will be plotting, others will be thinking, probably a little too late. Kale's expression remained calm, though beneath it lay a simmering satisfaction. They had survived the Council's ultimate test, navigated a gauntlet designed to annihilate, and emerged unscathed, commanding the galaxy's deadliest predator with precision and strategy. Yet this was not just victory, it was a statement. Humans could not be dismissed. The lead Avern counselor rose, feathers slicked back with restrained irritation. "Commander Ryden," she began, her tone measured but edged with respect, "your performance defies expectation. Perhaps your species possesses qualities we underestimated." Her words were carefully chosen, acknowledging their survival while masking the unease her species felt at being so thoroughly outmaneuvered. Kale inclined his head slightly. "Humans survive because we adapt, because we observe, and because we act when others hesitate. That is all." His voice was calm, almost conversational, yet it carried the weight of someone who had faced death countless times and emerged stronger each time. Roran's eyes flicked toward the Xylarian beast, noting the subtle rumble that resonated from its chest, a sound of recognition, trust, and loyalty. It was more than a predator, it was an ally, a symbol of the bond humans could forge with forces far beyond their apparent strength. "They're beginning to understand," Roran said softly. "Or at least some of them." A murmur passed through the council, delegates whispering to one another. Some were visibly shaken, others reluctant to admit admiration, and a few younger members leaned forward, curiosity overtaking doubt. Kale's demonstration had not only survived their scrutiny, it had rewritten their expectations entirely. Kale moved to the center of the arena, allowing the Xylarian to follow, the creature's massive claws clicking against the platform. He lifted a hand, signaling calm, not control. "We are not here to conquer or dominate," he said, addressing the council directly. "We are here to demonstrate that intelligence, trust, and strategy can surpass raw power. You have created challenges meant to test limits, and we have met them, not by brute force but by understanding." The chamber was silent again, the weight of his words sinking in. The council had sought spectacle, expecting chaos and failure. Instead, they witnessed mastery, synergy, and the unyielding resourcefulness of humans. Every species present, no matter how confident in their superiority, was forced to re-evaluate what they believed possible. The lead Avern counselor's gaze sharpened, a flicker of respect hidden beneath layers of pride. "Your partnership with the Xylarian beast, it is extraordinary. Perhaps humans possess a unique capacity to communicate across instinct and intelligence. We will need to observe further." Her words were cautious, acknowledging potential without conceding full admiration. Kale's attention shifted subtly, noting which delegates were calculating, which were fearful, and which were genuinely impressed. Each expression told a story, a hint of the galaxy's evolving perception of humanity. "Observation is the first step," Kale said quietly to Roran. "Understanding comes next and adaptation follows. That is how we survive and that is how we thrive." Roran nodded. "You make it sound so simple." "It isn't. Not everyone could have done this." His tone carried both respect and a hint of awe. "But then that's why they're still underestimating humans. They don't realize the breadth of our instincts, our patience, our perspective." Kale allowed a faint smile, the first in hours. Perspective can be the deadliest weapon of all. He glanced at the Xylarian beast, which emitted a low, resonant growl, almost like agreement. The bond between them had been forged in danger, tested under the harshest conditions the galaxy could muster, and proven unbreakable. The council began to stir, delegates whispering among themselves, some already formulating proposals, alliances, or countermeasures. Kale understood their behavior perfectly. They had witnessed a human and a predator operate as one, and they would seek to understand it, contain it, or replicate it. Yet for Kale and Roran that was merely the next phase of the game. A sudden alert flickered across the arena monitors, a faint pulse, subtle and almost imperceptible. Kale's eyes narrowed. "Something's approaching," he murmured, sensing movement beyond the simulation's parameters. The Xylarian beast stiffened, claws scraping the platform, tail lashing with anticipation. Roran's brow furrowed. Outside interference? The council didn't authorize. Before he could finish, a shadow swept across the chamber and the simulation sensors flared, registering a new presence. A predator unlike any previously projected, massive, intelligent, and armed with tools that suggested a sentience beyond instinct alone. The council's monitors blipped frantically. Even they had underestimated the scale of potential threats. Kale's mind raced. This is no longer a test. This is reality. He stepped forward, the Xylarian beast at his side, ready, alert, anticipating every possible angle of attack. The predator's eyes glowed with recognition, sizing them up, and the tension in the chamber became almost tangible. Roran moved beside him, adjusting the tactical interface. "We've faced worse but nothing like this. It's intelligent, calculating. It'll test every assumption we've made about predators." Kale nodded once, a calm in the storm of uncertainty. "Then we adapt. As always. Intelligence, strategy, trust. That is how humans survive, and that is how we triumph." The predator lunged. The Xylarian beast intercepted, massive claws and jagged spines deflecting the attack with precision. Sparks flew as Talon met armor, and the chamber shook with the impact. Kale's mind calculated every trajectory, every possible movement, signaling the beast with imperceptible gestures. Roran guided them through the onslaught, his voice calm and analytical. Predict patterns. Exploit instinct. Lead don't follow. For minutes that felt like hours, the three entities clashed in a ballet of power, strategy, and instinct. Every movement was deliberate, every attack calculated. Kale and the Xylarian beast moved as one, intelligence and muscle fused into a single, unstoppable force. The Council's monitors captured every nuance, recording a performance that defied every precedent in galactic history. Finally, the Predator faltered, outmaneuvered, and yielded, its intent clear. Recognition of defeat, respect earned through superior strategy rather than brute strength. The arena fell silent. The storm dissipated. The tension that had gripped the Council, the Predators, and even the simulation itself lifted like a drawn breath. Kale stepped forward, hand resting lightly on the Xylarian's ridged spine. Every species has limits, he said, voice steady, commanding yet calm. Humans discover them, then transcend them. That is our way. The Council erupted into discussion, their voices a mixture of shock, admiration, and cautious calculation. For the first time in centuries they truly recognized human capability, not as underdogs or curiosities, but as a species that could confront, survive, and master what others deemed insurmountable. Roran glanced at Kale, pride shining in his eyes. You've done more than survive. You've redefined what it means to be human in this galaxy. Kale allowed himself a faint smile. And we're only beginning. The galaxy will test us again. They will always underestimate us, but we will always adapt. The Xylarian beast let out a low rumble, the sound resonating through the chamber like a heartbeat of acknowledgement and loyalty. Together, human and apex predator had not only survived, they had commanded respect, forged bonds, and proven that intelligence, courage, and trust could topple expectations stronger than steel. As Kale and Roran walked toward the chamber's exit, the Council's delegates continued to watch, some in awe, some in calculation, and some already plotting for the next encounter. The impossible had been accomplished, the unthinkable realized, and the galaxy would never see humans in the same way again. Kale's gaze swept across the chamber one final time, calm, confident, and unflinching. We have proven our strength, he said quietly, almost to himself. Now the galaxy will learn to respect it. And as the doors closed behind them, the Xylarian beast padding silently at his side, every observer knew this was not the end. It was only the beginning of a story that would shake the galaxy to its core, a story of humans, apex predators, and the relentless ingenuity that made them a force none could ignore.